Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It takes place in the 60s with the 20-year-old Babydoll just learning about the untimely death of her mother. One night her stepfather discovers that his wife's left everything in her passing to her two daughters and becomes enraged. He takes his anger out on the two girls by targeting Babydoll, who manages to leave a scratch mark across his face. The stepfather seals her inside and turns his attention to the younger sister across the hall, forcing Baby to climb out her window and find another way around. She retrieves her stepfather's pistol but is unable to shoot straight and just wings the abusive man. Realizing that she's just fatally shot her little sister by mistake, Baby aims the gun at her cowering stepfather but can't bring herself to shoot it again and instead runs away. Police locate her at her mother's grave, where she's given sedatives and institutionalized in the Lennox house for the mentally insane. Her stepfather checks her in and conspires with the head orderly Blue about having her lobotomized when the doctor arrives in 5 days. He doesn't want her to reveal the truth about his stepdaughter's death, so he bribes Blue with $2,000 to forge Dr. Gorski's signature. Babydoll overhears this and has an actual mental breakdown as the asylum turns into a bordello around her, owned by the mobster Blue, with Gorski as the madam in charge. Some of the other girls are locked up simply for running away from home, like Sweet Pea, while in Baby's imagination they all serve as enslaved exotic dancers at a place called Paradise Theater. Sweet Pea's younger sister Rocket shows Baby around the building, where she meets other inmates Blondie and her close friend Amber. They're all trained to perform dances for violent mobsters while continuing their regular chores around the asylum. One day Babydoll's made to perform for the rest of the girls and goes a further layer deeper into her fantasy. She envisions herself in feudal Japan, where a wise man gives her the weapons she'll need on her adventure. Her dance is stylized through a boss battle against 3 Oni samurai who all take it in turns to attack her. The first warrior beats her around the temple for a few minutes until she eventually fights back and defeats it. The next attacks with a 500-year-old minigun, but Babydoll's getting the hang of it and uses her pistol to destroy a second. After defeating the third with a single swing of her sword, she's shown to have put on a dance so impressive that even Gorski claps. With all the girls hyped up that night, Baby feels confident enough to let them in on her plan to escape the asylum. Blondie warns her that the last 3 girls who attempted were all killed, while Sweet Pea presumes the same will just happen to the next. She takes some extra convincing from her sister before finally agreeing to help steal various objects that'll see to their freedom. It begins with Sweet Pea stealing a copy of the map from Blue's office while everyone's distracted watching another of Babydoll's impressive performances. This time she imagines a World War I setting, in which she and the rest of the girls are met by the wise man inside a ruined church. He informs them that they must steal a map from an army of undead German soldiers that are held up in trenches on the other side of no man's land. Amber uses a mechanized war machine to make an opening for the girls in the enemy lines, then ascends to the sky to hold off the enemy bombers. The rest of the team storm the trenches, slaughtering the monstrous enemy, where after a few close calls they reach the general's bunker. Only Babydoll makes it inside before the doors seal behind her and a courier tries escape with the map. He's pinned to a wall as the zombie in charge engages with Baby in a close quarters one-on-one melee. After a long fight in which the superpowered commander eventually wins, the roof suddenly collapses on top of him as the German courier frees himself and a race through the trenches begins. Baby's unable to catch him before the creep boards a zeppelin and manages to escape, but she hijacks a trench gun and brings the whole thing down, causing the courier to land right next to her. She deflects his bullets with her sword and chooses to let the coward live when taking the map, but is suddenly confronted by the returning leader and the remainder of his undead death squad. They go to charge her but are all instantly cut down at the arrival of Baby's team atop the mech. Amber flies them out of there to safety as we transition back to the first layer of delusion in which Babydoll's just performed. Next it's Amber's turn to steal a lighter from the mayor so that they can set off the fire alarm to unlock the doors to the asylum. During his next visit to the Paradise Theater, she gets close enough to pick his pocket while he's distracted with Gorski's announcement of Babydoll's first appearance. This time she fantasizes about a castle under heavy siege in which they'll have to make their way inside and steal fire from a dragon. Babydoll, Rocket and Sweet Pea drop down into the courtyard and kill an entire army of defending orcs. They fight their way inside the castle and find a small dragon that they need to kill in order to remove the fire starter from its throat. Baby strikes the stones as the final task of the mission, but it awakens the dragon's mother, who finds her child dead and gets enraged. The girls flee for their lives, but the dragon follows and goes after Amber and Blondie, who have been fighting off the catapulted orcs trying to get inside the plane this whole time. After a reckless chase around the skies, nearly colliding with the castle a few times, the dragon almost kills Blondie when it bites off the rear of the plane that houses her gun. Amber leads the dragon down to the ground, and when it goes for Babydoll, she leads its head into the gatehouse, trapping it, leaping over the fire breath and plunging her sword down into its brain. Having just put on a dance worthy of a standing ovation, Baby and the girls celebrate backstage in the dressing room with a newly acquired lighter. Noticing somebody touched his map and becoming suspicious that the girls are up to something, Blue threatens Sweet Pea and Amber to tell him what's going on, but everyone remains tight-lipped. He tells Babydoll that she's about to make him a lot of money when he sells her to a client called the High Roller, who in reality he's the doc that'll be performing her lobotomy in 2 days. When Blue leaves the room, Sweet Pea expresses her desire to stop with the plan, but her younger sister convinces her to stay, after Baby saved her from the abusive cook the other day and she feels like she owes it to her to help. The next item to steal's a knife to protect themselves, so the girls sit the same cook down and have Baby put on another distraction. The team are now in the future and tasked with disabling a bomb on a fast-moving train before it reaches the city. Amber takes out the back of the train and the girls board to begin handling the robot army that fills the carriages. With nothing more than a few close calls, they kill them all and manage to deactivate the device, but while hooking it up to Amber's helicopter, half a robot survivor knocks back Rocket and begins the override procedure. This translates in the real world as a short in the radio that causes the cook to notice Sweet Pea stealing the knife. He tries to stab her, but Rocket sacrifices herself as shown through Babydoll's delusion. She watches from the safety of the helicopter's ladder while Rocket activates a jetpack on Sweet Pea, saving her big sister. Unable to deactivate the bomb, Rocket remains on board as her sister is forced to watch the train explode on impact with the city. Back in the kitchen, Rocket took a knife between the ribs and dies somewhat peacefully in Sweet Pea's arms, telling her to reconnect with her parents. The reason why Blondie wasn't with them is that Blue found her in a moment of weakness and scared her into confessing everything. He knows about the plan to steal his key and decides to clean house by first smacking and threatening to kill Gorski. He doesn't do it and instead casually walks over to Amber and shoots her dead, to the horror of the madam, before thanking Blondie for helping him and killing her the same. Everyone is ordered out of the dressing room except for Babydoll, who's expected to perform for the High Roller tonight. Blue has a tantrum about everyone getting to play with his toys and tries to have it on with Baby, not realizing that she got away with a knife from the kitchen and stabs him in the shoulder. Now with the master key in her possession, Babydoll frees Sweet Pea from her holding cell and gives her the bad news about Amber and Blondie. The final two initiate their escape plan by causing a fire with a Molotov, and waiting at the front door until someone pulls the alarm to unlock it. They make it to the drivers guarding the front gate and find no other way around, so Babydoll decides to sacrifice herself to get Sweet Pea home to her parents. When the drivers approach her, Baby kicks one of them in the balls, allowing Sweet Pea to sneak through the gate behind them. She eats a fist to the face, and the next thing she remembers is waking up in the High Roller's bed, who claims he wants to know the truth. He begins sweet-talking her with the promise of freedom, then at the moment they kiss, Babydoll's lobotomized with an ice pick to the brain. The doctor tells the real-world Gorski that the patient gave him a look like she wanted him to do it. He's told that in Baby's short time in the asylum she stabbed an orderly, set a fire, and helped a patient escape. When hearing that it was her who supposedly signed off on this, Gorski notices that someone forged her signature to authorize the barbaric procedure. Babydoll's led away past all of the people and locations without saying a single word or being shown her face. She's met again by the now wounded orderly Blue, who takes her into a bathroom and tells his men to put her in a chair. Alone again, Blue advances on Baby but realizes she's unresponsive and begins to have another tantrum. He says that she's not allowed to lose herself and begins choking her out of frustration, when the door is kicked open by police, who instantly arrest Blue. He gives up Baby's stepfather as the one who paid him for the lobotomy and gets dragged away shouting and screaming. Gorski and the officers get no response from Babydoll, but we see her eyes give off a sigh of relief, as we jump to the new main character, Sweet Pea, stealing some clothes and preparing to board a bus. She's caught by two state troopers who are on the lookout for a recently escaped mental patient. But the bus driver Jedi mind tricks them that she's been on his bus the entire day and just went to the bathroom. They go back to searching the station while Sweet Pea hops on without a ticket, but the wise man doesn't require it and just helps the disheveled stranger with getting home. And the movie ends.